She met him at her church in 2009. He was 53, well-dressed, calm. He had a business card that said certified financial planner, a phone number, and a list of parishioners who said he'd done well by them. Over the next 11 years, Carol gave him $340,000, her entire retirement savings accumulated over 32 years as a school administrator. She was 67 when she asked for her first withdrawal. He told her there were some delays with the account transfers. Weeks later, she learned there were no accounts. There had never been any accounts. The money was gone.
Carol's situation had a name: affinity fraud. It targets members of a close-knit community, a church, an ethnic group, a professional association, using trust built through shared membership. The perpetrator is one of your own, which is precisely why the warning signs are easier to miss and harder to name when you start to see them.
For 11 years, the relationship had looked normal. He sent quarterly statements, printed documents that showed growing balances. He invited her to annual review meetings at a rented office suite. He answered her questions patiently. He adjusted her supposed allocation as she got older, moving her, he said, into more conservative instruments as retirement approached, every reassuring behavior of a legitimate advisor. None of it was real. The statements were fabricated. The office suite was rented by the month. The conservative reallocation had never happened.
The FINRA broker check database, the publicly accessible registry of licensed financial professionals, would have shown no record of his name on the first day Carol considered giving him money. He had never been registered. He had never held a Series 65 or Series 66 license. He had no affiliation with any registered investment advisor or broker-dealer. The CFP designation on his business card was not his. He had used the credential of a real planner with a similar name and simply placed it on his own card. Carol never checked.
When she finally understood what had happened, Carol contacted a securities attorney. The attorney filed a complaint with her state securities regulator and a parallel complaint with the SEC. An investigation found that he had taken money from at least 19 other individuals in the same congregation, ranging from $40,000 to $550,000 per victim. Total losses across all victims, approximately $4.2 million. He had been spending the money on a lakeside home, a boat, private school tuition for his children, and a storage unit full of recreational equipment.
He was arrested in 2021, charged with securities fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering. He pleaded guilty in federal court. At sentencing, the judge heard from 11 victims in person. Carol testified last. She read from a written statement. She said, "I am 67 years old. I will work until I cannot work anymore. I will never retire. I trusted this man because we sat in the same pews. I thought God wouldn't put someone like that in my life." He was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison.
Restitution was ordered $4.2 million. The likelihood of recovery was low. He had spent or transferred most of the money. The lakeside home was sold at a loss. The boat was repossessed. Legal fees consumed the remaining liquid assets. FINRA's arbitration mechanism doesn't apply to unregistered persons, so there was no investor protection fund to draw on. The state had no recovery fund with sufficient reserves. What Carol and the other victims received: a conviction, a restitution order, and no money.
Affinity fraud cases are among the most difficult to prosecute because the victims often resist cooperating. The perpetrator is someone they know, trust, and in many cases still feel conflicted about betraying. What the Carol case illustrates is that the simplest protection was always available and almost never used. The FINRA broker check database, the SEC investment advisor registry, and the state securities division each offer a free public check of whether any advisor is actually licensed. 11 years, $340,000. One database lookup would have been enough. Subscribe. Next video: the legal firm that billed a grieving widow for work it never performed.